So the Indiana Fever have got their enforcer. They have got their enforcer for Caitlin Clark. And I'm not gonna lie, like, when it comes to Caitlin Clark and their enforcer, last year everyone was talking about...
Well, it appears to be the WNBA. At last, bullies face their adversary, and oh, they're not prepared for what's about to happen, boy. Do you recall the previous season, Caitlin? Clark was hardly able to breathe without being chopped, pushed, elbowed, or hit by a body check as if she had signed up for, rather than a basketball, WrestleMania League each time she made contact with the ball. A message was being attempted to be sent. Yes, we clearly understood the message. You were afraid of being in the spotlight, avoiding being afraid of a novice stealing your brilliance out of fear. That no, regardless of how hard you fouled her, she simply continued to get up and drain threes. And guess what embarrasses your defense? Communication was received, and the Indiana returned one. And theirs is even louder than any haters who believed being overly active would cause her to. The athletes who believed that throwing was inexpensive news flashed that shootings made them appear tough, made you appear weak and salty, so tell. How is that going for you right now? Since Caitlin Clark isn't going it alone, she now has a large, mean backup. These new Fevers and experienced backup. Oh, the teammates didn't show up to grin and wave. They arrived to keep the queen safe and stop acting like such a harsh girl. Those players, if you were assuming that this season would be similar. As a final thought, Clark would simply keep being assaulted without facing any repercussions. Wow, the Indiana Fever recently received nasty, bigger, stronger, and finished. Oh, the WNBA drama and playing nice. Let's break it up because it's going to get spicy. Completely overwhelmed by what you're going to. The WNBA will quake, so grab your popcorn, remains locked in and doesn't blink. The ferocious Noons players are being revealed. Who are taking action to keep Caitlin safe? Clark, I promise you'll fall in love every moment of it before to entering. Take a brief break from all the activity to enjoy this video and sign up for the channel. You'll be there forever. Informed about the most recent WNBA news, major moves, and game analysis, similar to this, we've got you covered, so don't miss out. Go ahead and click the like and subscribe buttons. And remember to get right in. Caitlin Clark arrived during the previous season, joined the league as everyone was watching her NCAA college basketball sensation, record-breaking such a range that causes defenders to reevaluate their career. She was draining her money by making decisions. Logo threes and swaggering through it? Did she receive a welcome back to the now league? Take this elbow seriously. Was incapable of taking a single dribble without someone. Unintentionally checked her hip. As you moved into the second row, it seemed less like basketball and more akin to her joining the NBA. It was similar to the Royal Rumble. She entered a competition for skills. They ultimately found themselves in a steel cage match. Claimed that it was only rookie hazing. Let's be honest, it was referred to as physical defense. These weren't plays in basketball. Were ego bruises disguised as protection? It resembled a collection of salty veterans attempting to instruct the new child, and Clark, however, managed to pass that lesson. Class with distinction, as they were busy fouling out and waiting for some people to arrive. Social media was supporting the low-cost shots that seemed to be from the WWE. Clark remained trapped in the crossover episode. Fire in her game, ice in her veins. In the meantime, you haters appear shaken, attempting to protect her with fouls out here, because skillfully protecting her wasn't working, and worst of all, no one had. Back then, Indiana's roster was youthful, still evolving, and no one was taking any action. In to say, hey, don't touch our star, it was similar to giving it your all. Soldier without armor into combat, just wishing that she would survive the conflict, and she did in some way, but it shouldn't have given that impression to the athletes who believed she would be shut down by a hard foul. How are you? That's going well for you. You made an effort to punk her, and she gave you the appearance of extras in the backdrop of her highlight reel. However, that script just received a rewrite, with it written in this time, using a Sharpie on all caps and bold letters. and perhaps a few of exclamation points for this. This isn't the same Caitlin. Unquestionably, not the same fever as recess is done. But bullies had a good time. Here's why Indiana Fever just became frightening. Instead of simply upgrading the Fever went, they added the entire Avengers Assemble. Players that are not only gifted, but also tough, physical, unrepentant, and fearless to change it up. And they're approaching protect Indiana's prized jewel. If Caitlin Clark was Clark in the previous season, this season, Clark is up against the Globe and company, as opposed to everyone who even considers making a mistake. So, who are these reinforcements? Let's destroy everything. Let's begin by taking down one superstar at a time. Natasha, with the beast in the paint. Howard, the NBA's equivalent of a security system with an integrated attack mechanism, if her name is unknown to you yet. So that's your first error, since she's going to turn into a persistent nightmare for each the player is considering attacking the rim. Imagine her as the club's bouncer. Indiana is pure. No nonsense, no excuses. Dominance, which is why you should, before you drive to the basket, give it some thought. Previous three-time WNBA champion player of the year for defense constructed like, oh, she's moving like a jaguar in a tank. Has a jumper as well. She's a walking. She's seen it all won, so don't attempt it. Anything. And she's not available for hugs. She's making sure she's here for hard stops. No more elbows from Caitlin Clark last time without someone responding. To it, Clark was out there catching cheap this year. Photographs as if they were being sold, but try that same nonsense again this year. Howard will be standing there with their arms crossed, discreetly arched eyebrows, stating, "You got it." Took her roughly 5 seconds to correct the error. Provides the kind of playoff perseverance, and you can't feign intimidation. She is only protecting the rim, the culture, the entire franchise, and the future. And discussing brave feistiness and somewhat wild, let's discuss the chaos agent Sophie Cunningham, who transformed trash talk into a kind of art. Ruthless enforcer who doesn't give a damn. I'll introduce you to chaos if you want it. Don't mess with me, Sophie. Cunningham, this lady is the epitome of made differently. She's bold, and she is fiery, and holds a black belt in Taekwondo. With the assurance of a knowledgeable, she is the most terrifying individual on the floor, and perhaps even in the parking lot. Sophie has a positive outlook, enough to circulate throughout the league. She's the type of athlete that can strike. At your bench, 3 people are barking in your face, and then fiercely protect your highest rating. And did I also mention yes, she has more in-game combat. Disputes about her resume compared to certain UFC the girls received invoices from veterans. But the surprise is that she's not just barking. Sophie had a bucket she shot certification, almost 38% from deep in the previous season, and she gives her room without hesitation. And it's lights out. Keep her safe, and she will force you to paint like. What makes her especially special is personal. Risky, that edge of the flames, that zero policy of tolerance for anyone who tampers with don't foul Caitlin Clark, her squad. Sophie is already checking in before she even blinks. Clenching her knuckles and ensuring the following play is not overlooked. She is a statement, not just a shooter. She serves as a living reminder that this season, Indiana isn't playing well. The Fever didn't only cause another death. They included a tone setter and a spark plug, an adventurous veterinarian with a wild streak and a spectacular photo, and right when you think Indiana is already in a precarious situation. The last component of the puzzle is the calm assassin, the seasoned sharpshooter, the person who has witnessed everything and still acts as though she had something to prove. Let's discuss Danana Boner, she has records, she has rings, she wears her playoff scars with pride. Like honors from battle, she doesn't wince. She doesn't simply show, she doesn't fold. When it counts most, she comes out. Instagram likes are not the purpose of Boner. She's not the loudest, but she's here for W's. Voice in the meeting room, but when she says everyone pays attention to her unobtrusive leadership. But strong as a thunderclap prior to the hurricane, she had more playoff battles compared to most leagues in combination when the pressure increases. Doesn't shatter, she becomes the serene, the assassin in the clutch among the pandemonium. She can dominate without dropping 30. While others play, she plays chess. Caitlin Clark is employed as a checker. New mentor the up-and-coming stars and display the championship DNA is what the rest of the league has. Appears up close, and while it's in motion, moment the playoffs begin, and each boner doesn't only care about possession, participate, she assumes control, while the bullies are tweeting, and the haters are boner, is accumulating wins by throwing elbows, teaching a master and dropping daggers class and remaining calm and deadly. The closer the legend gets, the closer she is. Having a chip on her shoulder on the court has a purpose in her heart, and she's currently carrying it out in Woe, Indiana. You've come this far. That must indicate that you're having a great time. The video, so let's have a little. The second time you press the follow button, it's completely free, very easy, and beneficial to us, continue to provide you with amazing material. Particularly if you're a WNBA fan, whether player highlights are highlighted in the game, or our behind-the-scenes footage you're covered, and by doing what you'll never skip a beat in terms of your favorite teams and athletes are available for tap. That come next, okay. Let's jump. Let's return to the topic of the WNBA. Let's be honest, bullies. We're all believing that a few players took a Angel Reese, a bit too personally Kennedy Carter, and a few people in the air. Less people. Welcome the energy. League and more, rookie. Stay in your lane. However, Clark didn't give up once she consumed the hits she threw down in gobs. Kept her game up, her head down, and that's what shook them, you know. Not the publicity, not the fans, that they didn't do anything. They beat her, and she got up, but they could break her. She drained threes after they fouled her. Spoke, she silently set them on fire. So Clark is the league's latest issue, is no longer alone in Indiana. They just became apex predators after being underdogs. The Fever wasn't merely searching for, they sought a balance of talent. Chessboard with knights, rooks, queens, and A-list with all the pawns in the proper places with a bite and brains. Now that Clark is in charge of the like a young Steve Nash in terms of offensive, the mayhem caused by Steph Curry's range producing, highlight plays while dragging defenders. Every night, Kelsey Mitchell is someone who can drop $25 on any quick, self-assured, and you have a cold-blooded Boston. Young, robust, hungry, and prepared to control the paint, as she has already demonstrated. She will be an MVP in the future. You have 3 bodyguards with experience who arrive to throw elbows, and this team is prepared to win games. To retaliate, followed by some sort of group that you circle on the calendar and begin getting ready weeks before you believe that this was merely a protective measure. No, Clark, this is much larger than that. The goal here is to completely flip This script is about informing the league, bolded capital letters on national television. You can't use exclamation points to bully. Your path to victory is no longer possible. Consider the league's spokesperson as a punching bag and hoping for no applause. The Indiana Fever have returned. Well done for being such a gorgeous little one. Restoring the team that everyone refers to as an ease, the days of escaping. Punishment cheap shots, passive and elbows hostile post-match remarks over they're no longer the victims. Instead, they are the Fever and Storm are sick of being. They are fed up with being pushed around. Ignored because they were sick of being on the team with possibility, that label is no longer there. Antiquated, like flip phones and fax machines. Phones. A new roster for a new chapter, fresh vitality, and if you continue to believe you're alone out here, Caitlin Clark. Obviously haven't been keeping an eye on no longer holding out for next year, they're not awaiting your blessing. Instead, than attempting to blend in, they're kicking down the door and removing the they want teams because they have earned respect. to play them out of fear because they desire that to be quite clear, you don't never ever mess with Indiana, not this year. Once more, and if you do, be prepared to encounter the team that is more than willing to repay the kindness more quickly, loudly, and with accompanying scoreboard. Caitlin Clark is not the kind to cause trouble. She's not retweeting or clapping. Back on Twitter, she isn't appearing in the press, players. During lengthy tirades, she let her gaming talk, but that game isn't. It's yelling and whispering all around. Sound, however. When being questioned regarding the harsh fouls, her response was cool and collected. And utterly barbaric, which isn't basketball, but you continue to play despite it. Translation: good effort. You didn't hurt me. I just got more. Film from you for my. While the detractors were watching the highlight reel, busy criticizing and harshly reprimanding, Clark was occupied with